Hi, Joel. Welcome to the Integrative Health Coach Success Podcast.
Hey, what's up, Julia? Good to be here.
Yes, we're excited to have you. I'm really looking forward to you diving into some of your foundational expertise as a health coach and having that conversation. What I would love to do to start is, can you share with our listeners what you're currently doing in kind of the health and wellness space? I know you were part of the first IHP go around. Give us a little bit of insight as to what you're doing.
Yeah. So we were just talking backstage. I was just telling you hey, you probably don't remember, but 4 years ago, you were coaching me. You were helping me and my family. I have an 8-year-old and a 5-year-old, and you were actually you were going through our labs and giving me feedback and telling me what to do. So it's really serendipitous to be here. And I just feel so blessed and grateful to have this opportunity and just be here connected with you and the people of the good team of IHP and Dr. Cabral. But yeah, so what I'm currently doing is holistic health coaching, and I'm working with a lot of people in the metabolic health space that want to lose weight holistically. Because what I see, and there's a recent study that just came out, 6.8% of Americans are metabolically healthy. That is a travesty. And it's funny because really all my studying has been through naturopaths like Dr. Cabral, IHP, and those are all the people that I've studied under. I'm not a traditional fitness coach, although I got started at 18 years old, just being in the bodybuilding world and learning how to really transform my body. But I don't count macros for my clients. I don't tell them to count calories. I think a lot of that's just silly. Not to say, by the way, easy, any of the coaches out there that do that and they get amazing results, I'm all about results. So please keep doing that. And I think those are great. I just think for the busy professionals that I work with, the CEOs and first responders, people like that, they don't have time to do that. And I talk to them and they really don't. They're like you and I, they have families, they have mortgages, and they want to be present in those moments. And unless they're really, building up for some competition or something, it's just not feasible. And so, that's what we do. It's all about rebalancing the body in a holistic way. And what I always say, and similar to Dr. Cabral, is I'm teaching you health. I'm not teaching you how to lose weight. I'm teaching you health first. And when you're healthy, the body can't be overweight. So that's what my main focus. The other thing I will say is that I just partnered with doTERRA and one of their top 1% brand reps of the company. And so I'm really helping other health coaches like me and yourself and others implement essential oils. I've been a huge fan of that since my oldest kid has been born, which is 8 years ago. And now I've just kind of partnered with them because I just really believe in their sourcing and their efficacy. And I think it's just an easy way for coaches to add an additional revenue stream if they're interested. So those are my 2 passion projects. I got a lot more that I could tell you, but I'd say that's a short story right there.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, the foundations of health is really what so many people are missing. Everybody's grabbing for these magic bullets. They're like, how can I lose 10 pounds by Christmas? How can I do this by that date? And everybody needs someone. Everybody's busy, right? Everybody's stressed. Most people have family obligations, right? And everybody needs someone to just ground them in the basics. And it sounds like that's what you're doing, which I completely agree. Give us a little background as to kind of how you got started. So were you always health and wellness? Was that always your mindset? It sounds like maybe it was, but was this always what you were doing or set out to do professionally?
No, actually it wasn't. And, I remember when I was 18 years old, I graduated high school. I had many I was in a private high school. I had friends that were going to Stanford. They were going to Cal. They were going to UC Davis, UCLA. Joel was going nowhere. I had no idea what I wanted to do. I was very confused. I was like, I don't know what happens now. I just was told to go get good grades. And I did that. And then I got out and I'm like, now what? And so I had no idea what I wanted to do. And so that was a really soul searching kind of process for me. I think I was really gravitated towards entrepreneurship, but still I'm like, I don't know what that means. So anyways, long story short, I go to college, still not really sure what I want to do. I said, maybe I want to work for the FBI. My father was a police officer. My grandfather was a San Francisco police officer. And I thought, I'll never do that job. That's cool, but I'm much better than my dad or my grandpa. I'm going to do something even more exciting. And believe it or not, my dad says, Joel, I think you might really like it. I know you want to do this FBI thing, but I think you might really like local law enforcement. And if you don't, then just quit and go to the FBI later, but at least you have some good experience. So I took him up on that, and I worked as a police officer in the Bay Area for 2 major metropolitan cities. And I did that. That became my career for 15 years. Now, Earlier, I told you that I had a son. So I have two boys, 8 and 5. Well, when my first son was born, I I just started to feel less connected to police work. And I felt like there was something more I could be doing. And I felt also, unfortunately, I think police work is one of the most noble professions someone can do if they've never done it. It is an amazing job. However, it was becoming too politicized. And I felt like I was being weaponized for these political ideologies that I wasn't in alignment with. And I felt like I just couldn't really do my job. And I remember my mother had just come down with breast cancer. My mother-in-law was suffering from hypothyroidism, all these issues. And I just felt really terrible that I couldn't help these people. And then when my son was born, I got into podcasts. And so I started falling into all these health podcasts like Dr. Cabral, Dave Asprey. And I started listening to all these podcasts. And I'm like, wow, there's other ways that I was already aligned with. I was already aligned with chiropractic, acupuncture. That was my style anyways. And so I'm like, I want to help people, but I don't know how, because I don't want to go back. And I thought actually about becoming a chiropractor, believe it or not, because I'm like, well, that's like a 4-year degree and I can become, call me a doctor or whatever. But I didn't want to go through all that with 2 kids. Anybody knows that's a coach out there that has 2 kids or kids and my wife wasn't working. I'm like, I can't go back to school and be in that much debt. Lo and behold, this guy named Dr. Cabral says, hey, I'm going to teach you guys what I know. And at the time, and I still truly believe this, I said at the time, but he is one of I tell people this all the time. I say, there's everyone I would learn these hacks from. If you have candida, or gut problems, take some oregano oil. That's great. Take some charcoal. Great. But guess what? That never got me better. Finally, I met a guy who said, I know the protocols. I know the systems. I know how to get you better. And I'm like, this is my guy. And I was so blessed. So I was one of the first IHPs I joined and still maintained my police job, but was doing stuff on the side. Fast forward, here we are. The pandemic hits and people are scared. People are running in fear. And I was challenged. I was put to the edge. And I was given an ultimatum by the San Francisco Police Department. They said, either take this product or you gotta go. And I'm really proud. I held in my ground. There's many things I could have done. I could have easily forged some paperwork or done something, but that didn't align with me. And I was like, this is not true to who I say I am. And I'm not going to do that. And so if I have to lose my job to do that, then let's go. I'm going to do it. Because you know what I realized, Julia? This is what happened to me. I sat back and I was living in fear for, believe me, like a week. And I thought to myself, holy cow, what's the worst that could happen to me? And I started writing everything out. And the worst that could actually happen to me was that I was going to lose all my money. That was it. And I'm like, hold on, but I get to keep my family. I get to keep my soul. I get to keep my health. They don't get to take that away from me. Okay, let's go. And so the fear went away. And I luckily I knew I had the skills to coach and I was already doing it. I just didn't know how to actually build a business of it. So I hired a business coach and was able to scale my business. And here I am now working virtually, moved out of state. I'm in Idaho now. And I'm, I have a health coaching business. And the last thing I'll say, and we can kind of move on from here, but the last thing I'll say is the more I have leaned into fear, the more I have gone where I'm like, I don't even know if I can keep going in that direction. But the more I have like trusted that and aligned with my higher self and who I say I am, only good things have happened. Only more good has happened. And now here I am on this podcast. Like, I didn't know you were going to reach out to me, but you guys did. Like, it's just the more and more good things keep happening. So I would just tell anyone, trust in those instincts and those fears. You don't know what's going to happen, but if it's true to who you say you are, man, only good things can happen.
Yes. Oh gosh, I love that, because the truth is any new endeavor, right? It's going to bring up fears, and where we grow in the part where we're uncomfortable. Like nothing really happens in our comfort zone other than like we keep doing what we're doing.
Yeah.
And lots of people, I actually know several personally who were put in the same position as you. And maybe they did do something that they weren't necessarily aligned with because their fear said like, no, you can't lose this job because this is all you have.
Yeah.
And, money for people is such a source of fear.
Yep.
And you kind of looked at it as, it's okay. That's the worst thing that happens. I get to keep so many other things that are far more important, right? Like our health is, if we have that and we have the people we love, like truly what else, because I know lots of people with lots of money and they're not very happy.
They're not happy. You know, the thing is, I told myself, I'm like, you're going to figure it out. Like, you know how to make money. Just go out and make it. I mean, it may not be, it may not look pretty in the beginning, but eventually it will. Like, just go out and do it. And, you know, something Dave Meltzer had told me, and I just think about this all the time now, because you just brought it up, is that, you know, his non-negotiable is health, is having good health, because anybody will say is, if you ask Steve Jobs, like, hey, what's one thing you wish you had, Steve? He had all the money in the world, but the guy suffered at the end and died of cancer. I mean, like, the only, and so that's the quote is, a healthy person has as many wishes as they want. A sick person only has one, and that's to be healthy.
Mm-hmm. Yep, absolutely. And you could have looked at the whole situation that happened with the police department as like, why me? And you could have got angry and right. But like I say on this podcast all the time, you can look at things happening for you or happening to you. And you took that as like, it's happening for me. And interesting that years ago, you thought like entrepreneurship, but like, I don't know what that looks like, right? Like you got there. We all like, sometimes it's a winding road, but here you are, an entrepreneur.
Well, and I think that final step, that ultimatum for me was really for me to stop playing half in and half out. And so it goes with what you're saying. Like, there's that famous quote by Tony Robbins and many others. Hey, if you want to take the island, you got to burn the boats. And I felt like, hey, here was my calling to finally go into that next part of my life.
Yes, absolutely. Okay. So what I would love to kind of chat about next is, I can't remember if you said this on air or when we were chatting off air, but you said something that I would love to chat about next. And it was, there's a lot of kind of basic things that lots of coaches aren't doing. And it sounded like there was a few that were maybe important to you or you found helpful. And I would love for you to kind of elaborate on maybe one, or definitely one to start, but we'll see how much we chat about one. And then we'll kind of maybe go into a few more. I know oils was one, essential oils. So whatever you kind of want to chat about next, as far as one thing that maybe a lot of coaches aren't doing that they could be doing, whether it's to scale their business, attract more clients, mindset, be happier, whatever you,
So, okay, man, here's the thing. And I'm just going to say this because I probably had like 3 different coaches reach out to me because they're like, oh, you seem like you're kind of successful. You know what you're doing. And they're coaches, they're highly qualified coaches, but their business sucks and they want to go to the next level. So, and believe it or not, they all have, I'm talking to these 3 people. This just happened like last week, by the way, and they all have the same exact problem. And so number 1, is the mindset piece. If your mindset is rocky and you're just like not really clear about this, you got to understand. So here's the one thing with a lot of coaches, and you and I know this, is that these people, and I see them even in the IHP, and I try to encourage them in the Facebook group, and listen, they're like, I just don't know if like I really know enough. I can't stand that. I'm like, you know more than you think. You are an expert, my friend. You can start helping your family members. You can start helping whoever. You know way more than these people. I guarantee it. Yes, I know it.
Dr. Cabral, I've said this on this show before, but I know you haven't listened to many. Dr. Cabral used to say to me when I was first starting out, this was now like 12 years ago, and this was when I was meeting with people in person. And I would say, like, what if I can't answer their question? And I would be so fearful that like I didn't know enough, right? And he said, listen, anybody that sits on the other side of this desk from you, you are the expert. When it comes to the 2 of you, you are still the expert. You might not know everything yet, but you are still the expert. And that's all you need to keep reminding yourself, that when you are meeting with a client, you know more than them. Therefore, you can help them more than if they never met with you at all.
100%. Yeah. So, I mean, people need to just get that confidence, and I get it. It's hard. We live in this imposter syndrome world where I'm just not good enough. We have all these old beliefs. So again, tightening up that mindset is key. I have all these old beliefs too, that I have to constantly reprogram my subconscious because I have the idea that I'm not good enough. And, you might go to someone else's page and they have 200,000 followers. Like, how could I ever compete with this weight loss coach who has 200,000 followers? Guys, here's the thing. I don't walk around with a 6-pack, nor do I claim to. And that's not really the market I'm advertising to. I don't have 200,000 followers and I don't care, but I know I can help people and I can teach them the principles that we've all learned to get them better. So yes, you are the expert and you can get these people. Yeah, they may not gravitate to you because you're the six-pack person with the 200K followers, and that's great. That person programs their weight loss journey or program, let's just say, differently than I'm going to do mine. And nobody cares as long as they get results. And so can you get somebody results? I guarantee a lot of you can. So get out of your comfort zone, take messy action, and just do it. And on that note, Julia, the last thing I'll say about just this piece of the mindset piece that people are missing. I had a business coach tell me, Joel, like, you need to just get out there and start taking action. And I'm like, yeah, I know. But he's like, no, seriously, like, take messy action, because right now there are people crying themselves to sleep. They're depressed. They don't want to get out of bed, and they're crying themselves to sleep because they need your help and you refuse to post something because it's not pretty enough on Instagram. That's a crime, Joel. Step up to the plate and do something, because people need you. And it's an easy thing to say and be like, yeah, like, get all motivated and say it. It's another thing to actually live it. So I'm going to share with you a story. This actually happened to me early on in my coaching journey. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm taking messy action. This woman reaches out to me. This is kind of last year in the pandemic. And she says, Joel, I tell her, we get to the end of the conversation and I tell her the price of my program. She starts crying even more. She's like, Joel, I have $50 in my bank account. $50. Like, I can't pay for your program. Like, even if I wanted like a piece of your program, I couldn't pay for it. I have $50, Joel. I'm not lying to you. I have $50. I lost my job, had to move back with my mom. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm depressed. My girlfriend broke up with me. And I was thinking about killing myself 2 days ago, but I saw your ad and I reached out to you. And so I'm like, whoa, this conversation is like hitting me now. I'm like, I don't know if I can, I might have to report this to authorities. I'm not sure if I'm equipped to deal with this. I'm like, whoa. So kind of just sat there, paused for a second. And I'm like, hey, listen, I was like, you need this coaching program. You really do. And this is not me because I'm trying to sell you a program. I could care less. But like, I'm listening to you. You need this more than ever. And I'm like, what can you do? Like, what can you do right now? Like, I said, I just saw an ad for Amazon right now. They're hiring people and they're giving them $2,000 bonuses. Like, what's to hold you back from just doing that? I'm not saying it's your dream job, but like, what's just to hold you back from taking that action and being able to afford this program and move forward? The next day, she texts me a photo of her applying for the job. And so, man, like, that is what it's about. Like, that literally, someone was crying themselves to sleep and saw my ad and followed up with me. So really, yeah, take messy action. You guys have the power to really make a huge change. You don't even know it.
Yes. Yeah. And I mean, to your point of what the business coach said to you, and I want to circle back to hiring a business coach. But we can kind of get like in this egocentric mindset of like, this Instagram page is all about me. It's kind of, this is like me. It's, my content, and that's not to say that that's not all true, right? But at the end of the day, what IHP was intended to do was to reach as many people as possible, right? And so when you take the mindset out of like, I'm doing this kind of for me, and actually there are people out there that need me. There's someone out there that maybe has thought about ending their life, which anybody who listens to these shows knows I cry all the time. Welcome to the Integrative Health Coach Success Podcast. But like, that's crazy, right? And not everybody is at that point in their life, but there's people who are headed down that path, right? And if we can kind of pull them back from the edge, 50 feet sooner, that's what we're here to do. And so, great advice from that business coach, because like you said, we can wait until everything's perfect. It will never be. Perfection is the root of all evil. Yeah. And I love that you say messy action. That's going to be the title of this of our episode. It's great. It's because just because it's messy doesn't mean it's not meaningful, right? It's action. And I'd love to know kind of, do you think, because I think there's a lot of coaches out there that might be in the same position as that client of like, I can't hire a business coach. You know how much a business coach costs? Like, I'm just starting my business. I don't have enough money to pay. What was your experience with mentorship and hiring a business coach?
Okay, so I got really lucky, I want to say too. So, and I'll just tell you, the coach in the program that I went with was Xander Fryer. He has a program called High Impact Coaching. He's an amazing soul and a good person who wants to change the world and actually help people. And I will say, and I just got lucky because he hit me up on Instagram. As many, I'm sure a lot of us get offers from these business coaches and stuff, and you don't know really what you're getting. And I have had friends who have hired other business coaches who weren't really that good and their programs kind of sucked. And so you do have to be careful. You have to do your research. I can say Xander for sure is tried and true, and whatever money you spend with him will be well worth it. But that is, again, it's tough because that world is saturated with people. You just don't know what their results or what they can do. So I would always say, yeah, do your homework. At the end of the day, though, like for me, I was in a crisis mode. I remember this was December of 2020. Yeah. And I already knew I could feel it. Like, I'm like, I think they're going to mandate this thing. I just had this ucky feeling about it. And I was like, I got to do something because I can't be in a physical location somewhere. Even if I do something else, I can't be tied down to physical locations because I'm going to have this passport or whatever it is. And I'm not doing that. So I need to be virtual. I need to be able to launch virtually. And yeah, Xander and his team slid into my DMs, and luckily I trusted my instinct. It was a lot of money for me at the time, but I just realized for me, it's like, I've always invested in myself. I always go to seminars or do some kind of program every year because I've always gotten something out of it. The other thing I will say that's really interesting, because I'm big into vibration and energy and that kind of quantum energy. I'm really into that. I believe in the law of attraction. I've seen it happen in my life over the last 2 years. The more I've invested in myself, even when I don't have the money, like right now, I'm like, I don't think I have the money to do that. But I'm even like triggered now. I've almost conditioned myself now, like, ooh, I'm going to even double down more. I'm going to invest even more when you have no money, which is kind of a crazy thought process. But I just know like the growth I'm going to get out of it in the end is going to be so powerful. And that has allowed me to connect with other people who were either in that program or who knew someone else that could help elevate my podcast let's say I went to the IHP event, like I'm going to meet another health coach or someone else, or it might be Dr. Cabral, and then that's going to lead to something else. I've had that happen so many times in my life. So now I'm almost I get annoyed when people tell me they're not going to invest in something because I know what like some of the prices are for things. And I'm like, this is a really low barrier entry. Like you should do it. But again, money, back to the mindset thing, money's just a belief. Like if you think you don't have enough money to afford something, it's just an idea. It's a belief. I know homeless people. I'm like literally people that don't have any money, and they figured out a way to like spend 10K on some of these programs. And so how did they do it? But you couldn't. Money is just an idea. It's just a belief. So you got to change. People need to change that. And that goes back to some deep rooted things that they need to unpack probably from 0 to 7 as a child. We all have it. And me too. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we won't go down the money belief system route because that's a rabbit hole and a half. But yep. I would love for you to share another kind of idea, because it sounds like you've just kind of gone from one place to here in quite frankly a short amount of time. I think you've gotten a large amount of growth in a short amount of time. And it sounds like it was probably because your back was against the wall, right? And sometimes like when we're in that position is when, we have the biggest breakthroughs. But what's another kind of thing that you think, coaches aren't doing that's fairly kind of important, simple?
Yeah. The biggest thing, because I just had, like I said, 3 coaches reach out to me and ask me for some advice. And I would say the biggest thing is they're afraid to niche down, and they're afraid to say, well, I don't want to do that. For me, for example, I help, let's just say my offer is, you see, be very clear with what you're going to do, your offer. And when I first started, I made this mistake too. I was like, but Dr. Cabral taught me holistic health. I can help everybody. And that might be true, and that's great, but you need to be very niche. And so niche down to weight loss, let's just say, or niche down to hormones, or niche down to stress. And then you may even want to niche down even further. Women, I help women who are busy with stress, overcome their stress in less than 60 days, 90 days, 30 days, whatever. And so you need to come out with a very clear offer. And the reason most of these coaches that I see, they're getting burnt out is because they do everything. And so when I go to their page, I'm like, cool. I want to see in the first, let's just use Instagram. I want to see in that first kind of headline what it is you do. How can you help me? What is your specialty? And usually it's all jumbled all over the place. I'm just like, well, this person seems to know a lot about health, and that's great. But how can they help me? Probably can't. I mean, I don't know. Maybe they actually can, but they just, it's not clear to me as the user what you do. So I'm going to other people and I'm scrolling to them. Oh, I find Julia, like she helps, women, pregnant women overcome their stress and anxiety or whatever. Right. And so that is the key. Like you've got to come up with an offer statement. And here's the neat thing, guys, that's going to just it's going to make you cringe. Your offer will probably make you cringe. When I broke it down to weight loss, I was cringing. I was like, this is so stupid. Weight loss is so like pedantic. Like I want to really make change in the world. Like weight loss, I'm not making any change. Like that's just very superficial. It was eating me alive to say that I help people overcome their weight issues. But guess what? Once they come into my world, then I start teaching them about the mindset, the detox, the habits, all the functional movement. They don't know that. They're coming and finding me. The woman who was depressed was finding me because I was offering her to lose weight. But deep down, there was all these emotional issues. There was emotional conflict. Well, great. We're going to work on that in my program. You didn't know that, but that's also what I do. So that's my best advice. Come up with a clear offer. Don't worry. I know you know more than weight loss or hormones. I'm sure you do. Let them come into your world, and then you can pick apart all those other cool things.
Yes. And I think what everybody forgets is they're thinking like, what if Joel goes to my page and sees that I'm helping mostly women, then he's not going to follow me. But what people don't realize is, a bunch of women. So yeah, I might be the person that's on the top of your mind when your wife has an issue or your sister or your friend. And you're like, oh, actually go follow so-and-so. She's an expert at this, right? So we always have people that we love who are could be sent to the other niche, right? That people don't realize that. Like, okay, now I'm not going to grab their attention, but their attention may be, deflected to somebody else, which is important to keep in mind.
You bring up a good point, actually, and I didn't even think about to talk about, and we probably won't have enough time to, but that idea that you just said, having power sponsors, I'm a big believer in that now. And I've seen that even again in the last 2 years of my life. But yeah, like we live in this abundant world, but we all think it's so scarce. Like, I don't want to refer someone to Julia because then that takes away from I'm more than happy to refer someone to you because at the end of the day, I want you to help somebody. And guess what? I know you'll do the same for me. It's just, that's the way the law of reciprocity in the world works. And I'll never, ever think twice, like, man, she better give me a client because no, like it'll just happen. Like good things will happen. And at the end of the day, we're all making the world better. I expect nothing from you, and it'd be the same for you and me. Right. But that's how it works. And building those relationships, people with other coaches is powerful. People really appreciate that. Like, wow, thank you for referring that person. That was really thoughtful. And at the end of the day, I always say iron sharpens iron. We're just all making each other sharper in our own community. I can learn something from you. You can learn something from me, and it just keeps getting better.
Yes, absolutely. And the truth is it allows energetically, I think, when you go, this person needs help. This is not my expertise. I'm going to refer them to so-and-so. It allows then for like your, ideal client to make its way to you because you're clearing, okay, like this is for somebody else. And then it allows for, what's for you to come. And one other thing, when you kind of were talking about the niching down, John Lee Dumas, who's the host of Entrepreneurs on Fire, he was at our IHP event and he was talking about like the avatar. And I'm going to share this for anybody who wasn't there and would benefit from hearing it. When he made his avatar for his podcast, he was like, I went down to what the person was wearing. Like his name is Jim. He is wearing, kind of ill-fitting suit. He sits in his car, going to and from work, sitting in traffic for a total of an hour and a half a day. He comes home, he pours himself a glass of wine, he talks to his wife, maybe helps put his kids to bed. Like he literally like drew out his ideal client's day, what they were wearing, what they looked like, what his name was. And every time he had a question about content or what he was going to say or what he was going to do, his thing was kind of like, what would Jim do? Or what would Jim need to hear? Or what would Jim want to know? Right. And so having like that laser focus of like, who am I helping and why, allows you to kind of speak to that ideal audience.
So good. So good. And people just need to remember, like, you're not Dr. Cabral who can help everybody. but he probably didn't get there that way either. They probably knew him in the beginning as, oh, he's really good with gut health, let's just say.
Mhm.
And then people found him. At some point, you guys can pivot and be the guy that, or the gal that helps people with everything. But in the beginning, I think it's really important to niche down. Later, people can know you as the everything person.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. All right. So I would love for you to kind of just, because we've teased it a little bit and somebody might be listening who's like, I want to hear more. So tell us a little bit about what you've been doing with essential oils, how you've kind of used that as either a revenue stream, or it sounds like something that's personally helped you considerably in the last 8 years. And maybe just something that you've now wanted to share with others, but give us a little insight into that.
Yeah, so it's really interesting. And, I partnered with doTERRA. And when I first heard of doTERRA, everybody knows about doTERRA, Young Living. And it's like, even me, I'm like, isn't that like an MLM? Like, I don't know how I kind of feel about that. Now, I've used essential oils since my first kid was born. Believe in them. I understand why they would work. I'm all on board. I never ever said, oh, but I'm a doTERRA person or whatever until recently. And I'll tell you why. One is, I got associated with a lot of good wellness coaches and moms and people that have really good businesses out here in Idaho, and they're really respectable coaches. And they were using doTERRA, and they're like, Joel, why don't you use it? I'm like, I don't know. I mean, like, why should I? Right. And I'm doing fine without it. And they were just telling me like, hey, the efficacy and everything else. So we started using it in our own household. Our boys had a respiratory virus last year. I don't know what it was. And my wife's like, wow, they slept through the night. I'm like, is that a good thing? She's like, Joel, you don't understand. Like I've used oils before on them regularly. This is a difference. So that was number one. I was like, aha. Number two was, again, seeing respectable coaches who have already solid businesses. They don't need essential oils like to be in their business, but seeing them also partner with doTERRA, I was like, that's number two. And then the third big thing for me was meeting my mentor, who's a 7-figure business owner with doTERRA, who's been doing it for like 9 years, and really seeing how she scaled the business and built a team. And what got me excited really was I saw how she did it. And I'm like, oh, I could easily do that. That was number one. I'm like, I could replicate that. But then also just being a part of that tribe, that community, and her leadership and being around. And that's really important, I think, for all of us that are entrepreneurs, not to go in these things alone. You got to have a tribe. You got to have people. Listen, when you're starting this journey, it's messy. And so I'm not going to, if I go ask my 9-to-5 friends who are still doing police work or whatever job they're doing, man, I don't know. Like, I had a bad month. Should I keep doing this? No, of course not. Joel, what are you doing? You're crazy. Come back, get a pension, get a 401k. Are you an idiot? Like, have some safe medical benefits and do this. No, you need to be around people who are doing the exact thing that you're doing, that are growing the business. What are they doing? And be in that tribe. And so that's really, really important. And so, yeah, I've just seen some really good results with the essential oils, specifically with doTERRA. And I just think it's honestly, in this age that we're in with the social media, it makes it even easier to grow to a 6 to 7 figure business. Like my mentor did it in the age of Instagram really wasn't a thing. And she partnered with a lot of health coaches and chiropractors and people like ourselves. And she grew it that way. At my fingertips, I could be talking to you, another amazing health coach on the other side of the world, and we could be partnering and doing the same thing. So I think the revenue to be able to grow that business is really, really good. And I think the last thing I'll say is we brought on some pretty recently, some people have joined our team that I know and they're some highly respectable people in the health industry. And I asked my mentor, I said, why would these people join like our team? Like, they're doing just great. They don't need you. And she said, here's the thing, Joel. They come and they get to see how I'm living. And they're like, wow, this is amazing. Like, this house and how you're living is beautiful. And they realize I only work 15 hours a week. They're working like 60 hours a week. And so they're just burnt out. They're time poor and they want their time back. And so doTERRA just as a way to do that. So I think anybody that's really like in our community that's natural health minded, it's actually really simple to add oils into your business and implement them, and then even build a team if that's something that they're interested in.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, making some sort of an income while you sleep, right? I forget who said it, but yeah, because when you have to constantly be at a computer to be making money, it's easy to get burnt out.
Yeah, you're trading time for dollars, right? And at some point, it gets old. So yeah,
absolutely. Thank you so much. Please share with our listeners where they can find you on social media. Any place that you show up, social media, website, anything that you're willing to share with us.
Yeah, thanks, Julia. So I'm on Instagram at Joel Evan Coaching. My website is joelevancoaching.com. You can reach me there. You can shoot me an email. I'm pretty responsive on Instagram. You'll know that this is I'm looking to build my email list because I'm realizing, and I've known this for a while, but Facebook and Instagram and TikTok, they are at any moment, those platforms can be gone and they can take me away. And so if you go to my Instagram, you can actually, I have a link there and you can actually join my email list. So I would love to just build a long-term relationship with folks that way. And then the last thing I'll say is I have an amazing podcast that I built over the last 3 years. And it's been such a blessing to connect with experts like Dave Asprey, Dave Meltzer, Rob Wolf. I mean, just amazing. I am secretly waiting to have Dr. Cabral on. The only reason I haven't had him on is because I want to fly out to Boston and do his in person because he's someone special. So I'm definitely going to get him on. But it's called the Hacked Life Podcast, and the reason I named it that is because I was really into biohacking when I first got started, and I love these ideas of hacks. But I know, and your listeners know, that hacks will never get you to mastery and get you to fulfillment truly, but they are a nice way to nudge people into the conversation of health. And so it's called the Hack Life Podcast, had a lot of really cool people on it. And those are probably the best 3 ways to connect with me.
That's great. Thank you so much for sharing that. And thank you so much for being a guest on the Integrative Health Coach Success Podcast. This was such a wonderful episode. I really enjoyed it and I appreciate you being here.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you, friend.
Thanks, Joel.